Another East Texas county has taken a step toward helping create a new groundwater conservation district for Northeast Texas. KLTV7's Michael Richardson has this story from Zandt County.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion passed.
The Zandt County Commissioners took a step toward creating a groundwater conservation district by agreeing to work with a law firm that will help with drafting legislation. There was debate about making their own groundwater conservation district, but County Judge Andy Reese says the cost was too prohibitive. Working with other counties and sharing resources would solve that.
We've got the scare stories for Anderson and Cherokee counties when the people came in wanting to drill 25 wells or commercial wells and start pulling out aquifer. Well, that affects everybody. That's when that really came to light that we need to do something to protect our water.
Brian Sledge with the Sledge Law Group joined the meeting virtually, showing this map of groundwater conservation districts in the state. Parts of Northeast Texas, one of the largest areas without one.
There are multiple what we call groundwater marketers in the state looking for areas that don't have groundwater management, don't have a groundwater conservation district.
The move comes after other East Texas counties have made similar agreements. Upshur and Wood counties agreed to join the groundwater conservation effort Tuesday. Michael Richardson, KLTV7 News.
Now, this effort requires approval from the state legislature and is being spearheaded by East Texas lawmakers.